Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my stream and welcome to another video series. Today we're starting something totally different, guys. We're working on this guy right here, and that's going to be the Tamiya heavy truck RC. So let's just get into it. This is something that you've not seen on my channel before. Although this is a Tamiya model kit, this is an RC model kit. And of course, RC, you might be tempted to say, hey, RC is remote controlled, but actually no, RC stands for radio control. Yeehaw, get your terminology straight. Yeah, okay, no problem. Yeah, anyway, we're going to be starting this off, guys. I'm going to do the full build, and this first episode is going to be showing you all the stuff that comes in the box. If you've never built an RC car before, I'm going to show you that it's really not that complicated, even with all the electronics and everything that's involved. It's not that hard these days to actually build your own RC car and actually get it working. Now, is Tamiya the best company for RC cars out there? No. Do they make fun cars? Yes, they do. Maybe not as easy to do as a Traxxas, but to me it's pretty good. So this one is the GF-01. This happens to be the heavy truck version. There are a couple of different versions that Tamiya makes of this exact same chassis, but with a different body on it, okay? I chose the heavy truck because I love the tires on it. So I've already opened the box now. It is a pretty big box. It comes in a big box like this guy here. Bingo, yeehaw, big box, right? Yeah. Another thing that I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be customizing it quite a bit. I'm going to be adding a lot of hop-up parts, aluminum stuff, bearings, all that kind of stuff. Tamiya is kind of famous for putting a lot of plastic bushings in all the gears and all the drivetrain and stuff like that. And so there's everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people, they want to swap out those plastic bearings and bushings for real actual bearings, and that extends the life of the kit, right? Otherwise you wind up having to replace those later on, and it's a bit of a pain. It's not hard to put it all together, but then to take it all apart again and access those pieces, that can be quite difficult sometimes. So let me go through what comes in the box and a little bit more on exactly what I'm going to be doing to hop up the thing, okay? So obviously I've already opened the box, and it comes with, you're going to get some stuff that Tamiya puts in separate bags, and I have separated them into little containers like this. I find these are very handy to do. Tamiya is very nice. They have their labels like this, bag A, B, C, that kind of stuff like that, depending on the kit that you buy. And then you get these little bags of parts like that. So I've just kind of taken them apart and separated them into these containers just to make them a little bit more organized and even. And as you guys can see, my space is not that big here, so I can't really just lay everything out on my desk. And that's why I use these kinds of things. You are going to want some simple tools. You're going to want at least a good number 2 Phillips screwdriver. You're going to want one of those. You'll probably want one of these kinds of screwdrivers also, these kind of little small guys, things like that. A couple of little things like that. Tamiya is also famous for including one of these little tools. It's basically a wrench of 4 different sizes. You will use this. Every Tamiya kit comes with one of those. Kind of like IKEA always comes with that little wrench that looks like an S. Another tool set that you're going to want is very handy is something like this. Now, I just got this on Amazon, and it's basically just a little wrench set of all different sized Allen keys. The most common Allen keys that are for RCs, I've just picked that one. And you don't need to have a whole bunch of different sizes, but you're going to want to have like at least 2 or 3 different sizes in these. And this just makes things a lot easier when it comes to tightening up little certain screws and stuff like that. Something like that is very handy to have. Okay, so what's in the kit? Well, as I mentioned before, we've got tires. and I just like the look of these are kind of standard Tamiya tires. If you've ever seen a Wild Willie or a Wild Willie 2, you're gonna recognize this kind of tire. It comes like that. Also, I think something like the Blackfoot or the Toyota Land Cruiser kit. I think the Toyota Land Cruiser is actually on the GF-01 chassis, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'll put up some pictures so you guys get a reference of what these things look like. A little bit hard to see on the camera, especially with my black shirt. Maybe if I do this, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, I just like the knobs on the tires instead of just the regular chevron. I like these. And of course, the kit comes with yellow rims, not chrome. As you can see in the picture here, the wheels are actually yellow, just like the rest of the truck. This whole thing is molded in yellow. That's something I didn't really like. So what I did, first thing I did was I went online and I ordered a bunch of parts to have some black parts, which are actually out of the Toyota Land Cruiser kit. The Toyota Land Cruiser, almost the same kit, almost the same as this, but it's doesn't have these knobby wheels, or maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe I found out after after I'd already ordered this guy. And anyway, so these rims are actually off of a Wild Willie, and they're chrome, and I like chrome, so why not, right? So you get 4 of those. Looking in the box, you start off, it comes with the big main chassis, okay? So you have this. I'm just going to turn down my music a little bit here. So you get your main chassis here, okay? 2 pieces, just like that. And like I said, it's all molded in yellow. I didn't like this. I didn't like yellow, right? And so I've got the black version. Exact same thing, identical. Absolutely the same, except this one's black, okay? This is the one I'm actually going to be using. This will be a spare. This will be a spare if I ever happen to somehow bust this. I've got this one. Or maybe I want to build a second one. Why not? I've got this. Chances are I won't be building a second one, but you never know, right? You never know. Okay, digging into the box, we do have some black parts, right? There's not a lot, but that's about it, right? Of course, we have the big main dump for the body for the truck, right? We've got this piece, one big solid piece. And we've got the big main bumper, as you can see in the picture there. The main bumper, it does come with a wheelie bar, but again, I have a black one, right? I basically swapped out everything, this whole tree, everything. Now these 2 rails, I believe they are for the Wild Willie, because a lot of this stuff swaps over. And Tamiya likes to reuse sprues, right? They'll do 2 kits that look totally different, but they really share a lot of the same parts. And so Tamiya you wind up having extra parts sometimes and not knowing what the heck they're for. But if you've looked into a lot of their different kits, and you'll see, oh hey, that's the exact same piece, that's the exact same one. So anyway, this is the yellow parts, and of course I'm not going to be using these. I'll be using the black versions. I might use a bumper. But I doubt it. Let's see, what else we got here? Let's put this on the floor. And just exactly right here, I have my replacement, exact same parts I just showed you in yellow. I've got the black versions right here. Same with those 2 long rails. Everything right there, including the wheelie bar, everything right there. And in fact, I even have a spare black wheelie bar, which is hard to see in my shirt here. I'll do that. Spare wheelie bar just in case. I don't know, maybe it breaks. I don't know. And we have more yellow parts. Of course, these again are this is for the front of the truck, which you're going to paint all on the grill. Got the little cab with the windows. Other parts here that are for it. Yeah, we got these. We have, looks like some suspension some suspension parts, but some of these are going to be replaced with aluminum. I'll show you that, guys, all the things that I'm going to be changing. And we have here a servo saver, wheel inserts, and the battery cover, which would go on top, something like that. Anyway, that is pretty much it for what I have in the box here. We have our set of gears that's going to go on the inside of our main chassis here. We've got our main gears. I'll actually open this bag now just so I can show you guys. Once I get to actually putting some stuff together and actually doing some stuff with this, I'll show you guys. I'll change the camera so you guys can see a little more close up, a little better. Here's all our gears. These are main gears here. Big, fat, wide gear there. Now, it's actually going to be like this. We're going to have a bunch of little metal gears that go inside there. This one just happens to be already sort of assembled, but it's got the piece on here. This just has to come off. I can grab it. Can I get through and grab it? I should be able to. There we go. There we go. Okay. So these two go together once you have all your gears in there. Call them spider gears. Tamiya makes them out of pot metal. It's nothing special. And then we've got all these different gears. We've got bearings that are going to go into the ends of these. Right? Again, Tamiya includes bushings, but I have bearings, and so we're going to be putting metal bearings in there. Proper ones, real ones. We'll be doing that. Okay. The first thing in the instruction book that Tamiya would have you do, you've got the first couple of pages that kind of explain a little bit about the transmitters and radios, things you shouldn't really do, and stuff like that. And then we get into it, and the first thing we're doing is putting our gears in these. So we'll do that first. That will be first, but still got to go through some stuff here, right? Okay. So, first thing I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing as far as hop-up parts is the kit comes with a motor. Tamiya calls it a torque-tuned motor. It comes with this motor. This is basically a, what we call a, what do they call it? Silver can. A lot of Tamiya kits, they just come with a basic motor. It's not that fast, but it works. It's something that will get the car running, and you can actually play around with it. If you want to put more power or make it faster, then you get into different motors and stuff. Of course, that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, so this is the motor that it comes with. I'm not going to be using it though. What I am going to be using is these guys. So this is from Hobby Wing. This is the Easy Run Max 10. It's a kit. It comes with both the motor and the speed controller. And this is much more powerful, much faster motor. This is actually a brushless motor. If you guys know anything about that, a brushed motor has your standard brushes in there, and then a brushless doesn't. There's nothing to wear. And so that's this guy here. As you can see, the dimensions are similar, but it's much longer. It's a longer motor, right? And yeah, a lot more power, a lot faster. One challenge I did have in doing that is the size of the shaft on the motor itself is much bigger than on the Tamiya motor. If I pull that off, you can see the difference in diameter. Let me change the camera, I'll show you here. So we've got a big difference in the diameter of the shafts on the motors, right? Huge difference there. Now, Tamiya pinion gears, the kits usually come with them, usually an 18 tooth or something like that, and that'll fit on there, usually like this, and that'll go on there something like that, right? No problem at all. But it definitely won't fit on there. So you have to buy gears with that right mesh pattern to match these but you need a 5mm. This is a 5mm shaft, okay, compared to, I think this is 2.5. I can't remember exactly the diameter on the Tamiya, on the regular one. So I went online and I did find a company that gives me 5mm pinion gears to fit on there. Very hard to find for a Tamiya kit. Of course, different brands out there, they'll use different, what they call as a pitch for the gears, which is basically the angle of the cut of each gear, right? They call it the pitch. So you need to have that match, otherwise your gear, you're just going to strip your gears, right? And you don't want that because everything's expensive and you want it to last, so you need to match the pitch of all your gears. So anyway, that's this motor. And of course, how are you going to control the motor? You need what's called a speed controller. And I've got this one. It comes, like I said, it comes in the kit. This will be installed with it. It comes like this. Okay, we've got our power button. We've got a cable that goes to the motor. And we've got a cable that goes to the battery. And then we've got this guy here. This is going to go to our receiver. What's the receiver? The receiver is the little unit that takes the signals from your transmitter, for your throttle and your steering, right? So that's this guy. It's got 3 little spots there for all 3 wires that come from the motor. Bing, bing, bing. It's all color coded. It even shows you the colors on here, so you don't get your wires mixed up. Very simple, very easy. And if there's any doubt, they do come with instructions on how to plug it in. Now, we're going to get to the battery. We need a battery, right? So I like to use Traxxas batteries because I like the plug-ins, I like the simpleness of their chargers. They include an app that you can control how fast or how slow you charge your batteries. Unfortunately, this speed controller doesn't come with a Traxxas battery plug. So I have went on Amazon and I bought one of these, and this is a little plug adapter that will plug from this and convert it into, like that, converts it to a Traxxas plug with no soldering, no nothing. Very simple, very easy. Just like that. Beautiful, I love it. Things that make it simple and easy to do, those are nice. So, put this back in here because we're not going to need this for a while. Okay, so that's hop-up number 1, is changing the motor and adding this special speed controller. Hop-up number 2 is my battery pack. I'm using a Traxxas battery pack. This is a LiPo 2-cell, 7600 milliamp. Okay, this is a very powerful battery in comparison to what Tamiya really designed these kits for. I see I've already put the adapter here on the Traxxas plug. Just like that. So Tamiya doesn't really design their kits to be run super fast with lots of power and big batteries in them. But then you've got guys like me who want to do stuff like that and make it a little bit custom, and so yeah, we do things like that. Unfortunately, because Tamiya doesn't really design them like that, sometimes you have to do some modifications on the kits. And that's one of the first things I need to do. Unfortunately, right now, as I'm recording this, it is 7 o'clock in the morning, and I don't really want to disturb my neighbors with a bunch of Dremel grinding this early in the morning, so I'm not going to be doing it right now. But I'm going to show you guys. Here's our kit, okay? So this is our chassis, where all the gears are going to go in here. They're all basically all going to be going in here, okay? Across the top here, this tray is where the battery is going to go, right in here, okay? And so the battery would fit in just like this, okay? Now from this angle it looks fine, but when I do this, or I do this, you can see, let me flip this around, it's sticking out, okay? It's sticking out here, and we don't want that. It's supposed to fit flush in there. It's supposed to not stick any higher. It's not supposed to be any higher than this. It's supposed to be nice and flush, which means we have a lip right here because the battery pack is too long. So I need to get my Dremel and I need to grind this all away so it can sit flush in here. Okay, so I got to get rid of that. Okay, so I've already kind of marked here a little bit where I need to grind away right on this and get rid of this piece. Okay, so that's what I need to do. I need to get rid of this little block here. I'm going to use my Dremel to get rid of that. Can't really use a knife. I'm definitely not going to use nippers, especially because you get to a little bit of a thick part where there's a screw right there that's supposed to go through. So I gotta grind away and get rid of that too. Just the top of it, right? It's not gonna do anything for the structural integrity. It'll be fine, but I do need to get rid of that in order to fit the battery in. Okay. So once I got that done, then I can start installing the gears, right? So that's basically the first thing I need to do on this thing, is get rid of that bit of plastic on there so that I can actually fit the battery in its tray where it belongs. But like I said, I don't want to start on that right now because it's, like I said, it's early in the morning here, and I don't want to disturb everybody because there are some people still sleeping at this time. Next thing, all the aluminum parts, all the hop-up stuff I'm going to be doing. I went online and on eBay actually, and I bought this aluminum kit. It's made by Yeah Racing, YR, and they make aluminum kit. It comes with a whole bunch of aluminum parts that replace a lot of the plastic stuff. It comes with instructions on exactly where it all goes and which screws to use and all this stuff. And it's a really nice kit. I'll show you here. I'll change the camera again. Okay. Now, do I like the blue? Not necessarily, but it is what it is. These are some A-arms with, as we go through the kit and in the assembly, you'll see what I'm replacing these with. These are basically A-arms. These are steering knuckles. Actually, these are not steering, but these are the drive wheels or rear wheels. Again, we've got A-arms for suspension. Comes with the pins and everything and the screws to install them. We've got a whole bunch of little screws and connector pieces. And then we've got our front and rear shock mounts, and lots of adjustments on where we mount our shocks to, depending on what we want to do with them. We can change the angle of the shocks. Yeah, so we have all these, but that's not all. That's not all the aluminum stuff I have. I have more. Okay. So that's that. That's the Yeah Racing kit, but there are also some other things. We actually get them from Tamiya, and we get them from other places. So you saw some stuff there. I've got other pieces here that don't come in that kit. Okay? Other pieces that don't come in with that kit. Okay? We also have, Tamiya makes a bulkhead. This is actually a Tamiya one. This is a bulkhead that goes on the end. Goes on right here in this spot here. And strengthens this up. And you can front and rear. I've got two of these. You can put them on the front and the rear, and it strengthens up that chassis. I don't think it's really needed, but whatever. They call it aluminum gearbox support, right? So there's that. I have aluminum wheel hubs, or wheel adapters. The kit comes with plastic ones. I bought some aluminum ones. So that's those. And finally, metal shocks. The kit comes with plastic ones, what they call friction shocks, and they have no oil in them or anything. I bought the hop-up shocks that are oil-filled. I've already assembled them all, and it's pretty much the same process. I will show you how to assemble the shocks that come in the kit, but yeah, we have those. Lastly, we have metal bearings. These are by Fast Eddie. There we go, Fast Eddie bearings. Just gonna funky looking picture on them. You can buy these directly from Fast Eddie. You even got fasteddybearings.com, or you can buy them various hobby websites and stuff like that, even eBay. This of course is the Tamiya heavy dump truck GF-01, so this should have every bearing that I need in here. I do have spare ones because I did buy a couple of different bearing kits online, like AliExpress and whatever, cheaper ones that still, just in case. So I've got extra bearings in case I don't, I've had in the past when I was younger and I built RC kits and I get a bearing kit like this, and then there'd be 2 or 4 bearings that it just doesn't, they're missing, right? And I wind up having to use the bushings that come in the kit. And so from that experience, I know sometimes it's good maybe buy 2 kits, buy 2 of these or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The other thing you're going to want sometimes, every now and then, you're going to want some blue Loctite to put on some metal screws that have a tendency to loosen up with vibrations and stuff like that. So I like to have some blue Loctite on hand just for those occasions. That is about it, really. Yeah, that's about it as far as what I'm going to be doing here. So, like I said, I don't want to be grinding right now, so we're not going to actually be putting the gears in, but I'm going to be prepping them, okay? So let's get started on that. Put this in here, is we're going to need some parts. Now, what Tamiya does in their instructions, and they'll show you at the back of the book, change this again. At the back of the book, they'll let you know exactly all the parts that come in the A tree, the B tree, the C tree. Flip this over, they show you exactly what's all on our sprues, our B sprue, C, F, D, just like they would in a model airplane kit or a model tank kit or anything like that. We got our separate gears, and we got our bushings and metal bearings. But these are not actual, these are just bushings, right? Starts on this tree here, page here. We get our troubleshooting page, everything like that. Okay, but we're going to start at the beginning, and we're going to start assembling our main gears. Okay, so we need to get off of, they show you on the side here all the parts that you need, and of course they are exactly the size that you need, so if there's ever any doubt, you're not sure which one is exact, you can always match it up on the page. I always do that with my screws, so I know exactly which screw I'm supposed to be using. I'll take the actual screw and I'll put it on the page and see if that's actually what I need, if that's the one I'm supposed to use. So anyway, off of our A tree, or A bag, we're gonna need these parts. Okay, a bunch of metal gears. So I don't need anything with this one. So I'm gonna close this up and put it aside. So I'm gonna grab the one that I put my A parts in, right here. Open this up, and right away you can see our bags of bushings that Tamiya gives. Right, these are the bushings I was talking about. A bunch of plastic and brass bushings, and these are basically garbage. They're okay if you're on a budget and you can't afford actual real bearings. These will do. These will do fine, but keep in mind you're going to want to replace them. Right. We've got some axle shafts. Here's our pot metal gears. We're going to need all these. And then we've got our bags of screws and pins. This is a gasket for the motor. And we've got these. Okay, so let's get these bags opened up. I don't like that Tamiya still uses staples on all their bags. Dump everything in. See, we've got body pins, body clips, special little screws, things like that. Nuts and bolts, all kinds of little things that you're going to need. And we've got this bag. that dumped in there. Now they do have the same screws in multiple bags because they'll use this particular screw is one that's really common with Tamiya. This is, you get this one a lot, having to use this screw. Okay, we're going to need one of these because that's right here in the diagram. Right? Going to need that one. And of course we're going to need our gears. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to put all our gears here. And this is the fun part where it's going to get a little bit messy because you're going to put some grease on your gears. Okay. Now the kit comes with grease. Of course I have two here because I was already built one. I built a Tamiya Kong head, this guy here, and I've got grease left over from that. So my father was really into RC cars for many years, and used to race them. He was actually at one time a North American champion for the RC racing club that he was in. So yeah, that's how I got into it, because he loved it. Okay, so I've got a paper towel handy here so I can wipe my fingers off, because we need to start doing this. Okay, we're going to need this guy here, and we're going to need the screws, but not right now. We only need the screws to button it all together, right? So one thing we can do with our grease is, I want to use a lot of grease on these. Well, maybe not a lot, but you want to use enough. You can spread it around your finger, and we want this to go on there, and that'll act as a bushing, and we can use a bit extra. So we want this lubricated. You don't ever want your gears to be dry, right? That's a terrible thing. That's a bad recipe. And then this guy is going to go in first. So what I'll do is kind of do this, and I'm going to use the grease as a way to hold it in. There we go. Turn that a little bit, spread that grease around. There we go. Okay. Now I can do that twice because we do have to do it twice, right? Got to do it both. So I might as well do both at the same time. Do both at the same time. Okay. Balance it on my finger. Just like that. Turn it a little bit. There we go. Okay. So move these out of my way a little bit. Okay, now we have these guys. So, put a little grease on that, and grease on this one, and these go on in this direction. I like to turn them as I do it, so I just spread all the grease around rather than just shoving the grease right to the edge. Kind of like a Q-tip. Okay. The other thing you want to do is get some grease on the actual gears. Okay, just gonna rotate this a little bit. There's something I noticed. I've watched quite a few videos on YouTube building this thing, and I see so many YouTubers, they get to the actual build part where they're doing this stuff, and then they fast forward through it all. And so you don't actually see the whole process on what they're doing. And it's like, well, what if I actually don't understand a part of it? What if I'm trying to do it, but I'm not getting it? Okay, so we have this assembled. Now each one of these little arms is going to go into these 3 slots, okay? This might be a little bit tricky, especially if you got lots of grease and it's a little slippery. Maybe I can do this, okay? It just goes down in like that. Just like that. Now one thing I didn't do is I didn't put any grease on the main gear down below, so I'm going to pull this out because I want to put grease down on that main gear. Just set this here. You want grease everywhere. You want everything greased. If you put a big blob in there, that's fine. Just spread it around. See, I got a blob in there. I'm going to take my little flathead screwdriver and I'm just going to spread a little bit. Spread it around. Just like that. Just so it's spread a little even. There we go. I'll put this back in. There we go. Okay. Now, with that one done, let's go to do this one. Start off by putting grease in there. Again, use this to spread it around a little bit. Okay, that one's now ready. Now, this one. These on here. This one on here. Actually, I'll do them one at a time. Grease on here. Another thing I noticed on YouTube when searching for videos on building this thing, another thing I noticed is there's a lot of YouTubers from the UK and not a lot from North America. And of course there's a lot from Japan. RC, especially Tamiya's RC stuff, is really popular in Japan. But it seems like there's not a lot of American, at least American YouTubers who do RC stuff. And I don't know why. It's just the hobby's not that popular in America or something. I don't know. It's not super important that you get it in absolutely every gear tooth, but you do want it a good amount put on there. Okay. Put that down in there, just like that. Okay. Wipe my fingers off. And then we're going to put this guy down on the top there. So, we're going to put some oil on this. I said oil, I meant grease. Okay. He's going to just drop down on top of it. This is where you can do a little test and do a little turn, spin it a little bit, spread that grease around. Okay. Do the same with this one. Okay. Drop him in. Okay. Now my fingers are a little slippery. doesn't really want to turn. There we go. You can do that. Okay. Same thing with this guy. Spread that grease a little bit. Because once you actually button this all up, it's a little bit tough to spin it and everything like that without actually putting axles in. Because basically there's a spline on the inside of this, and that's where your actual axle shaft is going to go into, and it's going to go into this side too, right? Next, we need to find two more of these little washers. That's this guy here, and this guy here. More grease. More grease. Let's spread it around a little bit. Even if it's only a tiny little bit, I like to have it spread around so that there's grease on every spot. I don't know how much this washer is going to slide or spin or whatever, but I want to make sure that there's grease on it. I don't want any friction, I don't want any heat buildup. It should be nicely lubricated everywhere. You don't have to go crazy with it, but there should be plenty. It should not be starving for grease. Okay. Now with all that in there, if you wanted, you could put a little bit more extra in there, but really it's not going to do you any good. Because if you just decide to squirt some more into the corners there, yeah, you're going to have some extra, but really it's just going to be sitting in the corners, and it's not really going to be doing anything for you. So it doesn't really matter. Now, we're going to take these, and we're going to button it all up. So obviously our three little things go into that. I think there is a notch to guide these also. So it lines up nice and easy. There you go. And then we take this one, and we do the same thing. Okay? Now our screws come into play. Okay? So, these are basically self-tapping screws. Okay, that's different than these machine screws, right? You can see the difference here. Okay, they're different, right? So we need 3 for each one. So I'm going to take all 6 out here and have them ready. 3, 4, 5, 6. My screwdriver, having touched magnets before, has some residual magnetic properties, so that does help quite a bit. Having a magnetic screwdriver really does help a lot with this kind of stuff. Just put them in a few threads first. Okay, now I can pick it up and actually tighten them up. You don't need to go crazy on the tightness. You do want it tight though, but just hand tight, good enough. I do find these Tamiya screws are like, even though they're a number 2 on the Phillips, they're like a shallow 2. So my Phillips screwdriver does kind of want to strip a little bit, so I gotta really tighten it down hard. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's that. Now, of course, it's really tight in there, right? It's really hard to actually get that. You'd have to actually use an axle shaft to try and turn it, right? There's your 2 gears. Now, of course, they want you to put them in the chassis, but I cannot. I've got a bunch of gear. You can tell how tight I was holding onto those gears. Okay. They do show you here how everything should look when you got it in. And now the next step, of course, is to put them in the chassis with the bearings, right? But, of course, I can't do that right now. But what I can do is I can prepare all of my gears for the chassis, okay? Which means I can get all of these, put these aside for now, get all of these, and put all the bearings in them. I can put the bearings in each one, okay? So that means grabbing my Fast Eddy bearing kit, dumping this out. We got a lot of bearings that are the same. We've got 2 very small ones, but it looks like, for the most part, the bearings are all the same. These ones are all the same, right? So they show you that to put grease on all the bearings. You don't have to with your regular with your real bearings. You don't have to grease them. They fit in there like now. Now, if I'd put grease in there, that would just fall out. But you don't want that. You just want to make sure you got a bearing in each gear, 1 on each end, like that. Some of them might be really tight, some of them might be loose and fall out, but when you're just moving it around, but that's okay, because once it's all in the kit, they're going to stay where they belong. Just dump them all out. There we go. There we go. Go. 2 more. There we go. And that's it. So I'm going to put these back in. Oops. So don't want to lose them. Put them back in, and I'll put them back in here. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Because the next step is to put them all into the chassis, and, well, like I said, I'm not ready to put stuff actually in the chassis today. I'm going to have to do that next time. So, that's where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. The next step, of course, is putting all these little brass rods through there into the chassis and putting grease on all the gears. But we're going to do that next time, okay? So, that's where I'm going to leave it for today, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out, and let me know what you think about this stuff. Leave a comment down below. Hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button also. And yeah, in the meantime, later on today, I'll do some grinding on that chassis and take that little notch off. I'll get rid of that little part on the chassis so I can put my battery in, and then next time we'll put all the gears in. We'll continue on, and we'll continue on getting this thing assembled. And yeah, so until then, we'll see you all in the next one.